Hi, this is Andrew with PrestoAPI. In the previous video, I showed you how to generate API endpoints. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to lock down those endpoints and protect them from the public. As you can see here, if we enter this in Postman, anyone can access this endpoint. So we want to lock down this endpoint to only the authenticated users. So the first step is click Setup, and this will ask you if you would like to use your own user table. If no, Presto will store and manage your users. So if yes, let's select the MongoDB database, the user table, the unique ID, the username column, the password column, and how long that user will be authenticated for. Hit submit. And here we have our user table from that sample database in Mongo Atlas. And by hitting submit, that also created an account endpoint. Here we have the login endpoint. This login endpoint will return the JWT token if authenticated correctly. So let's try the login endpoint. This is the username from one of the users in the authentication table, and this is the password. Let's go ahead and make sure that those are correct. This is the email. This is the password. And if successful, receive 200 along with this bearer token. And it will expire in 180 minutes. Now we can parse this token on jwt.io. And we can see all the claims attached to it. Since this user table only had the ID, name, and email columns, those would be the only 3 claims attached to this token. So now that we have our bearer token, we can use this to hit this endpoint. Now we haven't locked down this endpoint yet since this was created before authentication. In order to change that, we head back over to our API, click on this little setting here, and toggle this require authentic authorization. Hit submit, and now we can see that the movies endpoint is now locked down. So if we try to hit it without the token, it will say this endpoint is protected with a 401 unauthorized. Now let's try hitting it with the bearer token. And there we have our list of responses. You can see if I edited the token in any way, it will say invalid token. And we know that this token will expire in the allotted time, which you can always change in the settings here, 3 hours. Now, let's try the PrestoAPI table. We can add users using the register endpoint, which is here, or you can do it manually by filling out this form. Now there are a couple more sign-in options. We have Google and Facebook. All you have to do is use the access token from the login response and hit this login endpoint with just the token. You will receive the Presto token along with the other claims. Using the register endpoints, you must enter the required fields associated with the user table, and the password will be salted and hashed. Therefore, in order to update a user's password, you must use the account put update endpoint. You can also lock down your project by whitelisting certain IP addresses. Enter the IP address that you would like to whitelist here, and only this IP address will have access to these API endpoints. And that concludes this segment of protecting API endpoints.